Hey there, my name's Taylor, and this is the Texas Off-Road Series Race 1. This is in Gateway Park in Fort Worth. And the Texas Off-Road Series, or TORS, is a 5-race series at a bunch of different places throughout Texas. I happen to live close by to Fort Worth, so I decided to go to the first one here. And I actually upgraded myself into the Sport category, which corresponds to like Cat 2. I have been racing Cat 3 more or less all summer. If you've been watching any of my other videos, thank you. And I have been doing pretty well in those. I haven't come in first place, but I've podiumed a couple of times and pretty routinely been in the top 5. So I felt like I should, make things a little harder for myself and go into Cat 2. Unfortunately for me, this race has some cash payouts, not only for the elite level, but also for the sport level. And so I think some people were sandbagging a little bit to be in the sport category to get those cash payouts because they ended up doing extremely well in this race, but I don't know them, so maybe they just had a great day. And then the other thing that kind of wasn't playing to my favor here was that for some reason going into this race, I thought that it was a 2-lap race, but it was actually a 3-lap race, and each lap ended up taking me about 40 minutes, and so the whole race ended up being more than 2 hours, which is a lot longer than I was signing up for. And it just so happens that this race did not allow neutral water, so at the end of my second lap I was pretty much out of water and pretty gassed, so I ended up not finishing. But we'll see that as we get on to into the rest of the video here, but just heads up right at the beginning that I don't end up finishing this race, so I'm not even going to get close to a podium or anything like that. Anyway, here we are at the beginning of the race, and there's this little bit on the sidewalk which really plays to my strengths as an ex-road rider, and I'm pretty easily able to get around a couple people here, which feels great. Like I mentioned, I've never ridden in a Cat 2 race before, so just being able to pass people in this race at the very beginning feels great, but probably I'm pushing too hard for such a long race. And then as we come around the corner here, we go onto like some grass, and then there's a little dirt. And this rider in front of me slips out a little bit, and then we're onto this nice single track through kind of like a field area. This is real nice, easy to just kind of carry a lot of speed through this, and there's no technical stuff to worry about. So we'll cut ahead a little bit here. I was closing the gap on the people in front of me on this nice infield section, but as we turn here, we get into like an actual single track, real mountain biking trail. And I actually had never ridden this whole trail before. I did 1 or 2 short laps in the DFW Spring Series here at Gateway Park, but it didn't do this part of the course. So this was the first time I had ever seen this course. I didn't have time to come out and pre-ride it before the race. So not ideal conditions for me to be up a category and looking at 3 laps of this course and not riding it before. So I would not recommend that in general. But I felt like I was doing pretty good here of navigating this course, especially for the first time. I lost sight of the people in front of me, but it would be hard to keep track of them anyway. However, I was keenly aware that there were people behind me, and I didn't know how many there were. I didn't want to be a jerk and hold up, the whole race, basically. So I'm trying to push myself as hard as I can here. I'm at 170 BPM, my max is around 180, and this is just like flat, pretty easy mountain biking stuff. But I'm having to think super hard just to, take it all in and try not to crash as we go through here. I am at red line, and as we come around this corner, I take a bad line and I'm not able to recover, so I come off onto the inside here and decide to let people go past. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 riders going past me right here. So this is when I start to think maybe I don't have any business being in this race. I jump back onto the line while there's still, I think, 2 riders behind me, but I'm now wondering, have I made a mistake joining this race? Should I have been in the Cat 3 group? So I try to catch my breath and get back into it, and I know this is a long race. I've got basically 3 full laps ahead of me here, so I'm trying to collect myself and not blow up too much right at the beginning. Those 2 riders that were behind me are now in front of me, and we're getting into a super spicy part of the course that I wish I had known about before, which is there are a lot of really big uphills and short, punchy, rocky downhills. I guess you can't really call them punchy. Anyway, the uphills are insane, and they're on loose dirt and big rocks, and some of them have turns involved while you're going up, so really, really tough to get up. I felt like you had to do 500 watts just to stand still, really. And again, I hadn't seen this before, so this was my first time here, and I'm surrounded by these other riders. I'm trying to keep up and just pushing as hard as I can. And I'm not super confident on these rocky, loose downhills either. But we come down here, hit the bottom of the valley, and then start going back up on another hill. I'm trying to pay attention to the people in front of me. Which lines are they taking through these rocks and stuff? Is it working for them? And if it is, I want to follow them, because like, for the most part, for me, mountain biking, I've learned you can just like go over rocks, no big deal. But when you're going uphill and you hit a big rock and like lose traction on the back wheel, that's just game over. And then it's so hard to get going again. So like, it's just, yeah, I gotta walk it up the rest of the hill at that point. Also, I feel like I'm just rattling off all the things I did wrong for this race, but the other thing I did wrong was I'm actually wearing road shoes. I'm wearing speed plays, and so like if I do have to unclip and get off my bike, it's not the best shoe to be hiking in, so yeah, wouldn't recommend that either. This was maybe the toughest part of the entire course for me right here. It's like this super steep uphill. It's hard to tell on camera, and I don't have like an angle gauge. I don't know what it was. Somewhere between 10 and 20% grade, but super steep uphill, rocky, and you have to kind of go to the left because you're making this right-hand corner at the top, and if you don't do it, you'll fall over or catch some rocks or something. But like, yeah, I am at red line here going 5 miles an hour and just feeling happy that I am not putting a foot down and hiking up these sections, but don't worry, I will do that too. So yeah, this is like, yeah, you can see these riders in front of me struggling with this. I felt really good to be not putting a foot down here, but I'm not going any faster than them, right? I'm keeping up with somebody walking up the hill. I'm just keeping my feet on the pedals. So managed to get around them here, but I'm sure that won't last long, as there's yet another hill coming. Not much longer. I come off this downhill, think I can carry some speed into the uphill, but I definitely do not, and I fully get off the bike and just walk it up this hill. I'm in good company though, you know. I feel like these other sport riders aren't doing much better than me at this point, so that's encouraging at the very least. But yeah, it doesn't feel great to be, you know, out here on a mountain bike race and just walking up these gigantic rocky hills. I didn't sign up for a hike, signed up for a bike. I skipped past a lot more hiking for your benefit, but this is where the course kind of, or the uphill section kind of ends, and then it turns into a more quote-unquote regular, or what I'm more used to, mountain bike course. They had most, if not all, of the like jumps or features roped off for this. I was kind of surprised they did that. I figured they would leave them open and tell people, like, obviously you don't have to do them, you can take the bypass, but maybe they didn't want like some liability involved or something like that. Anyway, great news for me, because I'm not going to do them anyway, and it's nice to make sure, or have everyone doing the same line that I'm going to be doing, which is going around them. So yeah, this is just like done with the uphill. I'm trying to catch my breath and regain my composure for the remaining like 2.5 laps of this race that are in front of me. After a little bit of that, the trail opens up into this nice double track through an open field, which is just, you know, it's a little bit bumpy, but relatively smooth sailing compared to everything else. So this was another great opportunity to catch my breath. You can see that my heart rate is down to like 140, so I'm maybe taking a little too easy here, but I think I overexerted myself on those climbs, and I'm trying to just like recombobulate here. After a bit of that double track, we come back onto the pavement, and then this is where we meet back up with, when we started, we were on the pavement, and then we turned onto the trail, so now this is like the reverse. We're just meeting back up with where we were before. This is a little bit of two-way traffic, but like everyone was so spaced out after the very beginning of the race that, you know, I would at most see 1 or 2 riders here on any of the other laps. But yeah, this is just straight up smooth pavement. After some of the pavement, there's this little like cyclocross style chicane off camber hilly turn to get back onto the trail. And this goes into, I don't remember what the like different loops of this trail at Gateway are called, but this is just another part of the trail at Gateway, and this one is in the woods and more typical mountain biking. There I was kind of confused for a second because there's a fork in the road and it's not marked. I wasn't sure if, I assumed both routes would eventually get you back to, yeah, they meet back up right here, but I didn't know which was faster, which was better, which is easier. Again, I haven't ridden this course before, so yeah, hopefully I took the right line there. I have no idea. Some of this actually is looking familiar to me because we did this part in the DFW Spring Series, so I have like a very vague recollection of what this is like. I wrote it, you know, maybe 6 months ago, and I'm trying to remember everything that I learned when I did it last time. I would love to actually do a video that's like a 2-up of me 6 months ago and me today. I don't know that I actually did it any faster, but we'll see maybe. This might be the only feature I hit all day. Wapow! Look at that. Amazing. No error or anything. Just rolling over a nice little wooden feature. I don't know what happened to me here. I was either daydreaming or completely cooked, but I almost just rode straight into the caution tape. And this is, I think, a junior rider that was behind me that like started in a later wave, or maybe earlier wave, I'm not sure. And then there's a woman rider that's behind me as well. Both of them get around me and have no trouble staying away from me. So kudos to them for doing much better than I did on this course. So here's something that I also remembered from the DFW Spring Series, which is the trail puts you off on, or like dumps you out onto this sidewalk, so you have a brief reprieve from doing any actual mountain biking. For some reason I decided to ride more in the dirt on this part than on the trail. I think I was afraid that I would like pick the wrong line or something like that. I don't know. Should have stayed on the concrete, would have been much faster, but still fun to ride in the dirt. And yeah, this was like, during the Spring Series, this was a key time for me to gain on people that were better mountain bikers than I was. But here, like, there's nobody around me, nobody I can see in front or behind me, so I'm just kind of cruising along at a pretty comfortable pace. And there's another concrete sidewalk section that ends in this really sharp hairpin. So you got to be careful that you don't carry too much speed through there and lose this corner like I almost did. But yeah, just back onto the mountain bike trail here. And I think this spits us out ultimately into a parking lot. Yep, here we are coming out of the woods and into the parking lot, and we do like a lap around this parking lot and then come back for the start finish. As we come into the start finish, I had to let my muscle memory from the DFW Spring Series not lead me astray, because there's this like wooden rut, or not wooden, dirt rut through the trail here, but you got to take a right turn off of that into the actual start finish under the Trek banner here. So this is the end of lap 1 for me, and I'm not feeling great at this point, but I feel like, yeah, I could probably do another 2 laps at a pretty comfortable pace. And as you can see, there's no like people lined up on the sides handing out water or anything like that. I learned later that it's meant to be like self-supported, so you could have put like a cooler on the sideline that you can pick a drink out of as you go by. I don't really understand why that needs to be a distinction. Like, why can't somebody else just hand me a water? And really what I should have done is just like lose a couple minutes and go back to my car and get some more water and then keep riding. But yeah, I didn't do that. Hard to think when you're mid-race. So I skipped a bunch because most of the interesting stuff happened on the first lap, and aside from this part with all the uphills and downhills, most of the course is pretty standard, just like you're in the woods and riding on a nice little trail, and all the features are, you know, taped off, so nothing interesting there. Anyway, felt like I had a much better time on these uphills on my second lap because there was nobody around, and I could like, I wasn't redlining, I was only at 170 BPM. And I was able to like pick lines that were better for me and obviously learn from what I did wrong on the first lap. So I did a little bit better. I think I ended up putting my foot down less. I don't think it was not at all, but less. And yeah, I hadn't seen anybody for quite a while here, and I was running low on water. So yeah, just like trudging through the desert basically. So my camera dies not too long after this. I've got the little GoPros and the battery only lasts about an hour. So I only get at best half of this race recorded. Like I mentioned toward the beginning, I ended up not finishing this race, and having not finished some races before, like I tried to do Belgian waffle ride and didn't do it, and after the race I was thinking like, man, I should have just persevered, like pushed through the pain, done it, whatever. I ultimately decided to take myself out of this race because I ran out of water, and it was like noon in Texas, and it was like at least 90 degrees. I don't know how hot it was exactly, and I wear a full face helmet, so I was really trying not to get like heat stroke or something like that. Who knows if that would have happened? I have no idea. But playing it safe, trying to get home. And yeah, I decided to just play it safe, take myself out of the race. And I felt really good with my effort here. Like, this was one of the hardest things I've done. And next time I'll try to make fewer mistakes because it feels like it was just a comedy of errors for me. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope I do better in the next race. See you around.